Hello and welcome to Yes, You Can Do It Yourself. Today we're going to be looking at buying a used tractor. A tractor is a big investment, and a lot of times, used tractors, they don't seem to go down in value, but they seem to go up as long as they're well maintained. And so today we're going to be talking about buying a used tractor and where to look and kind of price ranges as well. So let's get into it. So I bought this tractor here. I bought this tractor about 3 years ago. We paid $3,000 for it, and it has been a great tractor. We have used it, and we've tilled the garden, we've bush hogged with it, we've pulled up stumps with it, we've graded with it, and so the $3,000 has just went a long, long way for value for our money. We've done earned the money back several times over with this tractor. Now, there is a lot of things that you look for when you go out to look for a tractor. Unless you're a mechanic, I would try to find something that is running, that everything is working. You have to think of beforehand, what are you looking for in a tractor? If you're looking that you're going to be doing a lot of moving of dirt, you probably want one with a front end loader on it, or buy an attachment, that's a front end loader that's separate from it. But today we're just going to be talking about a general tractor. And so when I go to look, I look to make sure that the PTO is working. I look to make sure that if it is a straight shift transmission, that the clutches are engaging and they're solid. And the other things you want to look for is front end parts wore out. Is the steering knuckles wore out? Is the bearings and the tires wore out? There's the different components. Is there lots of slack in the steering when you're moving the steering back and forth? Leaks on the tractor as well. Do you have, when you look at the tractor, is there a lot of oil puddled up underneath it? Now, I will tell you, old tractors have leaks. And so what you're looking for is not a little bitty puddle, but actually a huge puddle. Now, if they park that tractor back in the same place over and over again, naturally you're going to see a little bit more oil. Why? Because it's leaking more over time. But you can actually, if you're looking at the tractor, move it to somewhere else. Turn the tractor off and just watch it and see if it's, pouring oil from the front seal or pouring oil down between the bell housing and back of the block and drip it on the ground. If it's in between the bell housing and the block, you're probably going to have to pull the motor off of it, put a rear main seal on it if it's leaking bad. Um, if it's leaking just a little bit of oil, that wouldn't scare me away. If it's just a drip here and there, and it's over a period of time, that wouldn't scare me away. Same thing with your injector pump. Look and see if the injector pump is pouring diesel fuel. And if it's just got a steady drip, 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 well, that would have a tendency not to bother a lot of people. But when you think about it, that's your diesel fuel running out of your tank onto the ground. So that means you're going to be buying more diesel pretty quickly. So you definitely don't want to have any major leaks on your injector pump. The other thing you want to look at is when you're checking it, check your brakes. Make sure that your brakes are, your left side and your right side are working independently of each other. If you're going to be loading that tractor on a trailer and you're buying it, and you want to make sure the brakes work, because when you back it off, usually you don't have a problem pulling on the trailer, but it's when you're backing off the trailer that you have the problem. And if one side works, when you go down and you hit the brakes, it'll pull it to one side coming off the trailer. So you just want to make sure you got good brakes, or you're just bold. But anyway, tires. I've seen some other videos where they say, don't buy a tractor that's got bad, old tires on it. But I will tell you, the tires that's got dry rot on those, unless the dry rot is super, super bad, tractor tires are pretty thick. And they're going to last a long time, and you're going to see lots and lots of farms out there that's got tractor tires on them, and those tires are dry rotted to a point. Another thing we'll talk about as well is how to get better tires. And that is important, because getting better tires down the road, if you want to be able to get them and get them at the right price. And I would say that most of the things we're going to talk about is getting it at the right price. So when I bought this tractor, the tractor did not smoke, no blue smoke out of it. Now it did have some black smoke, which is, that's common with diesels. I love the diesels. This is a 3-cylinder Perkins engine that is in this tractor. And so, it was a good solid tractor. It didn't consume oil. I've not had to put much oil in it since I've owned it. over the 3 years because it just doesn't use oil. The steering works great on it. The other things you want to look at is, there again, we talked about the PTO working. You want to make sure that the lift goes up and down. If the lift has trouble going up and down, then you're going to get into that tractor and you're going to have to do some repairs. Or if the lift doesn't go up at all, you're going to be into that tractor doing repairs. Now, I paid, $3,000 for this tractor, but the truth about it is I've seen many, many more since then for $2,500. And it depends on the season that you're in. If you're looking in the springtime, tractors are going to be up in price. If you look through the wintertime, they're going to be down. And so your best time to buy a tractor is in the wintertime when the price is down. Now today is October the 3rd in 2024, and right now things are a lot cheaper. Inflation's really high. People are struggling, and so a lot of people are letting go of some things they wouldn't let go of before at cheaper prices. So now is a good time to buy. So you want to look, like I said, you want to look, make sure the lift is working, make sure the PTO is working. This has a 2-stage clutch in it. So when you press the clutch down to start with, that disengages the tractor from moving, but your PTO is still running. To disengage the PTO, you push it all the way down. So on this clutch lever, you just push it all the way to the floor to disengage. That's called live PTO. And that's something you want. I ran a 8N Ford tractor when I was really young, and it did not have that feature, and I didn't know much about running a tractor or a bush hog. And what will happen is if you're running a bush hog, it will actually push you in further if you don't have that live PTO, so that secondary clutch to disengage it. So it can actually push you over things you don't want to run over, and it's dangerous. And there's other things that they make for that if you happen to buy a tractor that doesn't have live PTO, and we'll talk about that in another segment. But some of the things you want to look for when you're looking at an old tractor that are crucial is, like we say, you want to make sure it's not knocking. You want to make sure it's not excessive leaking anywhere. You want to make sure that it starts up really well without having to have ether. There's a lot of people that you'll go to and they say, oh, this tractor will start, but they got to spray ether in it to get started. You want to stay away from those because you're getting really close to having to rebuild that engine, or either you got a pump that's starting to go bad. You want to make sure the transmission shifts. Now this one is a straight shift transmission, got high and low, so it's got 4 gears in high and 4 gears in low, and so you want to make sure that the tractor goes through all those gears. And as well, you want to check the radiator. You want to look around the radiator. If the radiator looks wet, it could be that the radiator's been leaking. And so you definitely don't want to buy something unless you can find a radiator pretty cheap. I don't like buying something that the radiator is already bad on and it has no fluid in it. It's a possibility it could have been run hot. And so, if it's been run hot, then you could be just buying somebody else's issues and problems. You also want to check the radiator, or check the oil rather, and see if the oil is milky. If the oil is milky, that means you've got water in the oil, and that means that you probably got a blowed head gasket. And so I would want to stay away from those too. A head gasket is not that bad to change, but in the end, you don't know how hot that they ran it. And so the hotter that they ran it, they could damage the rings on the pistons. They also could crack the head that's on there. And so you just really want to stay away from any tractor unless you're a mechanic. If you're a mechanic, then you're probably not going to be watching this video anyway. And so anyway, those are things that you want to look for. So let's talk about buying tractor tires. One of the best ways that you can buy tractor tires is finding a tractor that the engine's blowed up in, or the transmission's bad, or the hydraulic system is messed up. Normally, if you can buy these tractors, especially if the transmission is messed up, you can buy those super cheap, like $1,500. And what's great about those is you can, if you keep and you watch, you can find one that's got good tires on it. It's got an extra motor. It's got extra sheet metal. It's got extra parts. And you can set that thing aside as a parts tractor. And so those really work out really great. These Massey Fergusons, now I am a Massey Ferguson fan. I love Massey Ferguson. They got the 3-cylinder Perkins diesel in this particular one, and it has just been great. It is a gas or a diesel sipper It barely uses any diesel fuel. And I use it here on the farm a lot, and it's just a great all-around tractor. But anyway, these tractors here, you can find these tractors depending on what you're wanting. If you want something that's got great paint on it, that's got a seat on it, got nice tires on it, you're going to pay upwards of anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000 for this tractor with all the paint, all decked out, new seat, really great metal on it. You're going to pay somewhere in that neighborhood, and something that's already been gone through. And so, and the truth about it is that's still a great deal. If you look on Marketplace, you can find those. And if you're willing to drive, if you'll actually extend your search beyond your house, at 250, 300 miles, if you're willing to drive that, you can get even a better deal. And I know what a lot of people say, I hate to drive all that way, and then, it doesn't pan out, but if they do a video and you can see the tractor running around, you can see the lift moving, you see the PTO moving, whatever, if you're buying a cheap tractor or you're buying an expensive tractor, you're seeing all the components of the tractor work in their video. And so, and then you can also ask them, what kind of shape is the tires in? Do they have dry rot? There's things that you can pre-ask them before you drive. And so you can get a used tractor really cheap compared to a new one. A lot of the new ones are $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a tractor this size and a little bit bigger. And so it just depends on, me personally, I don't like being in debt. I like it every month that, this tractor is paid for. I never have to worry about a payment on it. It does what I need it to do. It doesn't look the greatest. However, we're going to be painting it this winter, and that's going to be one of my videos, is painting this and redoing this. And so I do all my own mechanic work. I was a line mechanic for years for dealerships, and so I've rebuilt, I could not tell you how many motors, transmissions, just you name it. I've done all kind of mechanic work in my life. And so we'll be visiting, repairs on different things on here on the farm, but on the tractor as well. And so that's an easy way to get good parts. Now you can also find people that has already stripped the tractor down, and they're selling the parts off, and so you can buy the individual parts. I find a lot of times that's a little higher to do it that way. But the other thing is you don't have to go there and physically take it apart yourself, so that can kind of be an advantage, but at the same time it's going to cost you more money. And so anyway, I'd rather do that. So when you're looking for a tractor, just think about it, just write down your list of everything that you need to cover that we've covered in this video, and write your list down and look online when you're looking on Marketplace or Craigslist, wherever you happen to be looking, start checking those things off on your list. If you're not a mechanic, I really want to encourage you, don't buy anything that's not running. I mean, even if you are a mechanic, I'm a mechanic, and I tell you why I don't like buying something that doesn't run if it's me, is because I don't know what kind of shape the transmission is in. I don't know what shape the motor is in. I don't know those things. Now, if it's something that I can pull up to, and I can put some fuel in it through the throat of the intake and crank it up, and I can hear it run, I might can get, like this one, when it cranks up, the lift comes up by itself. If it's in the upright position, it'll come on up. So even when it's turning over, that lift will come up. So that's something that you can check, But I would encourage you, if you're not a mechanic, try to find something that's all of it's working, and make sure that it's working correctly. And so that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we're going to have a lot more on this tractor, as I'm working on it, and as we're making repairs to it, how it operates. We're going to have all those in another video. So thank you for tuning in today. Subscribe to our channel, click that like button, and thank you.